Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, your host, and today my question for you is job search, job hunting. How do you get into it if you're looking for something, and what do you need to know? And if you're hiring, the same type of things, some tips on that as well. So without further ado, Megan Applegate is in the house. So Megan, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Sure. Thanks, Charisse. So, like she said, my name is Megan Applegate. I am a business owner. Actually, I own two businesses. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I have a husband and one son who is just started as my business. I came from the hospitality industry for over 20 years, and that has led me down a path to transition into being an owner with Gecko Hospitality, which is a third-party independent recruiting company that has that niche in hospitality. And from there, I've been doing that since 2019. From there, was an offshoot of another business that I now own called Career Blueprint Solutions, which basically helps individuals in the career development space. So resume writing, LinkedIn, interviewing, anything that relates to how I can help them further their career. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on. All
There.
right. Did you ever envision yourself in this career where you're owning two businesses and doing what you're doing today?
No, no. If you would have told me years ago that I would be number one a business owner, I might have believed you because I always had that in the back of my head, but in a completely different way. I thought I was going to be an event planner that owned my own business because I was in sales and catering events and hotels for so long, but never did I envision recruiting. That was something that literally landed in my lap. And in interesting enough, it was the perfect time because I had kind of hit the end of like the burnout of like,
Mhm.
okay, I just like love this industry, but I cannot do this anymore. I lost the spark,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
And so the Gecko Hospitality kind of fell into my lap, and I I loved it, and I learned so much from being on the other side as a recruiter and knowing the ins and outs of what hiring managers are really looking for, and going through so many different resumes and realizing people just don't have the knowledge that's changed. And so, yeah, like I would have never pictured myself here, in especially with two different businesses. But for me, it's perfect timing, with my son and owning my own schedule and being able to be home and work from home and really work from anywhere, being a service business. So it's it's crazy to think about if I'm like, you know, 8 years ago, no way.
So how did it fall in your lap?
I actually, I jumped from working in hotels over to working with Compass Group, which is more of a contract food service. I don't know if you've heard of Compass. They're quite large. So
Mhm.
it's the same kind of scenario of going from a director of catering into more of the same kind of industry, but very, very different, very specific, very much rules driven. We were managed by a third party, and it was a huge step up for me in salary, and I was traveling, and I was just like so excited about this new venture because I thought that's what I wanted. 7 months in, I was like, what have I done? This is terrible. It just drained me. I don't know. It wasn't a good fit. And I then thought, well, what am I gonna do? I don't want to go back to my old life, and but that's what I know. And I talked to my husband about it, and he's like, you know what? I've had this recruiter reach out to me in the past. Why don't I just share your resume with her? She can give you a call and see if she can help you locate anything for a job. And I said, all right, that sounds great. And her name was Joan, and she called me and she's like, I really don't have anything that we're working on that's a great fit for you right now. However, have you ever thought about being a recruiter? And I was like, what? No, I've never my life isn't really hiring and managing people. I was like one-on-one, a lot of client relationship management, and that kind of side. So I looked at Chris and was like, I don't know. This is an opportunity. We've always talked about owning a business, and what do you think we should do? And a month in, that was that. We jumped ship, and I started the business in 2019 on my own as being an owner within it's a franchise model. So we own the rights to North Carolina and Missouri happens to be for recruiting. And so we started that in 19, and then the pandemic hit, and I was like, well, this was bad timing. But we are still here. I don't know, somehow we just did what everybody else did and grabbed the loans and did all the deferments and we are still here. Busy as all we could be. So that was how my transition happened.
That's so cool. I
Yeah,
love that because once again, it's a recurring theme when I talk to women that it's the spark isn't there anymore. It's just you don't feel called to do that anymore. Called to do something else, or you feel like you need to move on with your life and do something. And so now I'm sure it's much more rewarding, and you feel like you're helping a lot more people than you were before.
that is right. Yeah. I will never say that owning a business is easy. It's
Mhm.
definitely not. So much more goes into owning a business than just like the work itself,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that in itself has been a huge transition, but there's just something about being responsible for your own growth and success and not working for somebody else and being super passionate about what you do. And like I said, being able to be home when my son gets home from school and being there anytime he has sports and anything. We're not rushing from uptown Charlotte all the way back down here. And I felt like I was always trying to catch my tail before trying to be a mom and working crazy hours on the weekends. So this has given me a ton of freedom to just live my life. And luckily I can do this job from anywhere. So we could go to Florida for a week and if I needed to work from there. So it's been a huge change in a good way for us.
Oh, that's great. Now,
Yeah.
talk to us about the franchise model because you hear the good and the bad. And
Sure.
so, what do you wish you would have known that you know now?
Um, the franchise model I actually can appreciate a lot. And there was a lot of learning. Like you said, it was a huge learning curve. But one thing I will say about jumping into owning within a franchise is there's so much support.
Mm.
Like we have 45 different partners that
Wow.
all do the same thing we do across the United States and Canada. I think they're building into the UK now too, but the company's been around for 25 years. So, the good thing is they handle all of our billing, they do a lot of the marketing, and so there's a lot of the non-startup, right? Like I didn't have to build a website right away.
Oh, nice.
I didn't have to deal with the clients that are not paying their bills on time, and there was a process and I was just trained how to do it versus completely being like, this is great, but I love it and I think I'm gonna love it, but I don't even know where to start, right? If I need help with IT. So that in a sense has been great. And we've been in it, this will be our 8th year, and the people are wonderful. And I think there's something about when you own your own business and you go from being a part of a company to jumping into something just you. There's
Mhm.
a lot of solo in that, right?
Yeah.
So I think starting with the franchise first for me at least really helped us have community still
Mhm.
where we have partners in our little bubble that somebody that owns South Carolina, Tennessee, somebody else that owns Virginia. So we all meet once a month and
Oh,
talk
nice.
about our territories because we're so close to one another.
Mhm.
Candidates moving around. We do a yearly conference that we go to Florida for. We're actually going next week where we all come together as a big group. So it feels very much like you're still a part of a family.
That's nice.
But there's so much more freedom.
Mhm. No,
Right.
that's great.
The downside of franchising is not so much the rules. I mean, there is rules, but you're still held very much accountable.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right? So I mean, there's still, it's not a micromanaged thing, but we have to meet a certain minimum every year in sales. So it's a good and a bad thing because if we didn't, maybe we'd sit on our hands a little bit more
Yeah.
because we have to or we have to owe money. I think that helps
Mhm.
motivate us to make more money and work harder. So I've really loved it. And honestly, it set me up with the knowledge then to understand a lot more of the bits and pieces in the marketing and all the things that you have to do to be a business owner and actually get clients, right? And so that has helped me kind of understand how to launch the other business that I have with Career Blueprint Solutions.
I love that, which we're going to get to in just a minute. But
Sure.
how do you get your clients actually for either company?
With Gecko Hospitality, we have some marketing and BD support within the corporate office, but
Mhm.
honestly, it relies on a lot of word of mouth on our side. So in recruiting, we kind of look at it as like a full cycle, right? You
Mhm.
have to get the client, they give you the job that they need you to help. You find the candidate, you give them the candidate. They say, "Great, we love this person." It's permanent placement and you start the process over again.
Mhm.
So we're lucky we actually live in the state that we own.
Yeah.
So we live in North Carolina and we have the rights to North Carolina and when we bought in. So we do a lot of client site visits. We
Mhm.
go to networking events. We actually have one that we're doing later. We get involved with an association, a lot of drip email campaigns, and the nice part about how big our network is that we can have a corporate national client. Let's just say Hilton, for example.
Mhm.
And Hilton could say, even though we're headquartered, let's say in Dallas, we have a need that happens to be in Asheville, North Carolina.
Mhm.
So just because we didn't get that client, we still get to work the job because it all depends on where it's located. So
Right.
that's super helpful. On the other side, with my own business, with career development, a lot of the same thing, but much more through the website, because I built a website,
Mhm.
a lot more through social media and a lot more through email marketing and all of that stuff where it's really about you and your face
Mhm.
and you being the person that's out there helping people, giving them sometimes free advice so that they can understand and trust you. It's a lot about trusting you, especially when
Mhm.
it's service based, and just showing them why you're an expert. And so it's a very much a combination of lots of things.
Mhm.
But I will say, especially with what I do, it's become a lot more of a referral system.
Yeah.
When you do really well for somebody and then somebody's like, "Oh, I know somebody else that's was looking for somebody to help them with your resume. Hey, I talked to this person." And then sometimes the two cross over with Gecko and the other
Mhm.
where we'll be working with a client on the recruiting side that we've got a relationship here with in Charlotte. And then from that, I make friends with somebody and then all of a sudden they are referring me. So it's nice to have them interconnected in that way where even though one is, we have to find the client to get paid. So it's like, more B2B
Mhm.
versus B2C, right? Where I am, then the other one is more of like working with individuals. So
Mhm. Nice.
yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you help with resumes, you help with interviewing, you help with all that. So like, as a business owner, for the moms, I'm going to ask two different questions. For the
Sure.
moms that just need a part-time job right now and they just need to get a job, and so they're not quite ready to create a business, what advice would you give them for resume and interviewing? Because AI is now a whole different ball of wax that it's hard. It's
It
hard now.
is. It's very hard. And one of the reasons I got into um, deciding to kind of off in another direction with Blueprint Solutions is that I saw so many people, especially I guess in my age demographic, kind of like that 40 to 60, maybe a little bit younger, that was taught one way how to write a resume. Very black and white. You have to just do it this way, one font. This is exactly how you lay it out,
Mhm.
the ends, right? And I didn't know this either until I started to be in the business and being in a recruiter seat for so long. But it's really all about visibility,
Mhm.
really. And the visibility comes from making it through what I refer to as like three different gatekeepers, right?
Mhm.
A lot of people talk about the ATS system and they think it's this big monster system that rejects or deny or accept, and it's not that. And so just having the right format is like the first thing, because
Mhm.
when you have the right format, all the ATS system is doing is sorting and organizing. It's creating a profile. And so people don't understand that when you have all these graphs and you think, oh, I need a picture and I need all these things to make it pretty, that when it enters the system, it it still builds a profile, but it will put things in the wrong
Mhm.
places or it won't pick them up. So I would say having the right format is number one when it comes to visibility with the ATS. The other piece of the puzzle, and this is a huge one, especially for moms and my age group, is your resume should be very short and concise and future forward. And I find what a lot of people do is they think this is like the chronological order of my entire life.
Mhm.
Right? And this is every single job I've ever done in my whole life. And it goes on for 3 to 4 to 5 pages. And it's just listing out job duties where that is not what we want to see anymore,
Mhm.
right? We want to, and this has to do with AI. There's lots of keywords, and that's with the ATS and the AI. So if if anything, find the job that you want to do and be very specific about looking at some job descriptions
Mhm.
that are specific to that and study it a little bit. You can even put it into AI and say, hey, give me the top 10 keywords you see in here. And then you have to make sure that those are in your resume because that's a huge thing that will get you like to the top of the pile. And then once you have that kind of clear, defined job that you want, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna write my resume a little bit around that. I'm gonna have the right format. Then kind of the third step is writing it where you're talking to the hiring manager. So a lot of people don't see it as like a sales role, or I'm sorry, a sales document of yourself, right? It is like if I'm going to scam it or scan it and I'm going to read it, I want to know how you were successful and how are you going to um, solve my pain point within the first 1/3 of it. And if I can't do that, then somebody else that can will win. Does that make sense? So, kind of in a nutshell, I mean, there's a lot more depth that goes into that, but those are kind of like the three main things. If I could give advice to anybody, is the format has to be right. It needs to be very concise, to the point, forward thinking about the next job you want, 2 pages or less, and it has to answer the question of the problem that you'd be solving for the potential employer.
That is genius, and it makes sense
Yeah.
because there's so many people that are out of jobs or applying, and how do you stand out? I know my daughter for a long
Yeah,
time,
well, and
she
they're
applied
just
to
kind of
jobs.
like shooting bullets in the air to be
Mhm.
like, they think that being broad will give them a better opportunity to just catch all of the things. In reality, you're just at the bottom of everybody's list
Mhm.
because there's no connection to what you're actually doing. And I know it kind of sucks to hear that you have to potentially, change your resume. I don't think you have to rewrite it. I really just think you have to like pay attention to the jargon of the of what you're looking to do
Mhm.
and those keywords. And if you write it with those in mind and just change out, let's just say, here's my core competencies, and it's a list of different keywords. Um, Use hard skills, not soft skills. because those are, even those soft skills we need, those are not what's going to make me go, oh, she's
Mhm.
got the
Yeah.
exact, thing that I need. And try and put yourself in the higher managed position to be like, would I hire me?
Mhm.
Like, do I solve somebody's problem? And I think if you focus on those three, then you are setting yourself up to have a better opportunity to get a phone call for an interview.
No, that's great advice. Okay, so what about the entrepreneur that's hiring? What is one piece of advice you give them?
The entrepreneur that's hiring, and that's a good question. I would say be very specific about what you're looking for. Because again, if you're looking, if it, and it really depends, if you're just looking for a part-time person just to do some admin work, then I think there's a little bit of a broader scale. But like, if I'll just take myself for an example on the recruiter or on the recruiting side with Gecko, we don't have employees, but we have 1099 contractors that work under us as the actual recruiters, or we kind of do more of the BD and the managing the business. So for us, we actually put them through it's okay, a profile, kind of like not so much a test, but just something that analyzes them to see, because recruiting is it's a little, and it's very commission based, right? That's just kind of the model of the business. So you have to be comfortable on the phone. And I think you have to be super people forward, but also have a little bit of that like hunter mentality in you. And so I think kind of defining and writing out really who would fit the role you're looking to hire, and then define that even further down so that when you're getting, especially if you're, going to advertise it and you're getting all these people online, resumes pouring in, that you can really define who it is that you're looking for. Because if you're too broad, you'll be looking for somebody new in the next six
Mhm.
months.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And people can't read your mind. Like if you
Yeah,
don't know what you want, then how do they know how to
right.
help you, right? No, that's
Yeah,
good.
and I think being super transparent with the job and what it actually is, and not giving a lot of fluff just to
Mhm.
like get somebody on board. I see that a lot. One of probably the biggest reasons people leave their job is because they were not told the correct information when they
Mhm.
were hired
Yeah.
about what the expectations and the actual reality of the job and the company is.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's very important.
Great advice. Okay,
Thank you.
so let's switch to motherhood.
Okay.
So you started your business when your son was a little toddler, right? And so what have you been able to do that, like, to balance the schedule, I guess? Because especially
Sure.
now that he's going into high school or is in high school, that's a lot more stuff that he's involved in, I'm sure. So what do you
Yeah.
do to make sure that you have time for him, but you also need to take care of your business?
Um, I think, well, two things. My husband also works from home, and so I am lucky. I will say, I don't know if really this is advice, because I feel a little bit of that is just not everybody can have it, but there is two of us. So, when we are running people around, and Cruz was off for a couple days this week, and one of us was taking him to the jump place and the other one to the mall and out to, this and that. I think that we get lucky with. But my biggest strategy is really time blocking,
Yeah.
because I let a lot of people utilize a calendar to to schedule interviews or strategy calls, or if we're doing resume work, that we're really good about looking at a schedule in a week in advance if we
Mm.
can, to be like, okay, so he normally would come home on the bus at 2:15, be home by 2:40. Today he stays after for his ROTC PT
Nice.
thing that he does,
Mhm.
right? And so now we have to actually go pick him up at 4:30. And so we've gotten really good about looking at that as he's gotten older. And like you said, even more activities and more sports, where
Mhm.
as long as we keep track of that weekly, monthly, then it's a time block, because I have the ability to control my time. which I think is one of the biggest pluses of being a business owner is that we will block that off. At least one of us will not schedule an interview, schedule this
Mhm.
so that we can always be for him. And I think the other really cool thing I've seen from him is that he'll come home from work. He'll come home from school and we don't necessarily just stop our day and we're still working, but we welcome him into our office and we sit him down and we get to talk to him about his day immediately. And he sees the value of what we are doing as well. And has already been like, Mom, I think I want to own my own business. I was like, well, we'll talk about that, like you're only 15, but like it's interesting to see him have a different
Mhm.
perspective from watching us be so much more involved with his life, but also work is part of what we do, right? I mean, it's because we own our own businesses, it has to be. So there's a lot of great things in that.
I love that. That's good. Okay, last question.
Okay.
If you are sitting on a park bench and first time mom comes and sits next to you, you guys get talking and you're up into the year 15 now, she's just starting out. If you could go back, what is one piece of advice you wish you would have known as a new mom
Oh
or as a
gosh.
mom in general?
One piece of advice I would give a new mom, having 15 years of experience with it, is that the thought of being perfect doesn't exist. And that it's very hard to break your child. And like I just when that happens, I feel like a lot of people and you know it because the second time I only have cruise, so I don't have a second, but all my friends that are like, oh, the second and the third, like I wasn't worried. And I think we think, oh my gosh, this is a human life and we have to be so perfect or they're gonna end up not being, well-rounded or good in school or just if your child is like not walking when the average child is, or not speaking, or anything that seems like they are not following the rules of society, I think nobody is.
Mhm.
So the idea that we have to be perfect parents to have perfect children is not possible. So just to kind of get that out of their mind that like, yeah, there'll be mistakes and your child's going to get hurt. I can't tell you how many times like we've gotten really lucky, nothing major, but like you
Mhm.
have to like understand that that is going to happen. You can't protect them from, falling from a monkey bar
Mhm.
or, whatever they're doing, to expect it, I think. Yeah.
Well, I think that that's really good advice because thinking back, like you as a kid, how many things I can't tell you how many broken bones I had, how many sprains, how many this, like the heartbreak and the like you can't protect your child. If you do, then they don't learn and they don't like I look at kids, I feel like they're a lot softer today than they
Yeah.
were. You know, a good
Right.
example, my son, so he didn't break. He had to have surgery on his right foot, so he can't drive. Like I'm his Uber driver at this point
Oh
in life.
gosh. Oh gosh.
And
Yes.
he's on the spectrum, so like communication is a tough thing for him, and thinking forward is even
Yeah.
tougher. So if he has to be at work at 11, he's down at like 10:55. I gotta go, I gotta go. And I'm like, oh, you have to be at work right now? Well, I have to be in a meeting, right? So how does that work? So I have the standing schedule. I believe in filling your bucket, and a monthly massage is something I do for myself. And so I'd already canceled it last week because of situations. So I was not gonna like, and if you cancel within 24 hours, then you have to pay for it anyway. So
Right.
I
Right.
go to pick him up at his physical therapy that he doesn't even tell me he has. I drop him off, and I don't have time to pick him up. And he's
Yeah.
20. Okay.
Yep. Oh, okay.
So, I'm like, son, you can come and it's a 90-minute massage, so you're welcome to sit in here. Or he's like, well, I'm just going to stay at the hospital then. I don't want to wait there. And I'm like, okay. And he just kept standing at the door. I'm like, I have to go. I'm going to be late. I have to go. You're either in or you're out. And he's like,
Right.
well, I'm just going to stay. So I gave him my credit card because that's another story. He didn't have
Right.
any money at that point. And so I'm like, okay, well, if you're still here, then I'll pick you up in 2 hours. Otherwise, figure it out.
Yeah.
And so And I've never really done that. That's not true, but to that extent with him. I've usually been the type that has coddled him because of his
Sure.
issues. But I just thought, okay, this kid is supposed to be leaving for 2 years to go to a foreign country. Like he is not prepared. And
Right?
so I'm just, whatever. And
Yeah.
so turned off my phone, enjoyed my massage, turned it back on, and I'm like, here's the test. He can get an Uber car, like he can
Yeah.
Uber home. That's why I
Yes.
gave him the credit card.
Yeah.
And he did. I didn't have to hint. I didn't have to do anything. He figured it
Oh.
out. And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, you passed the test. But
Yeah.
I think that we as parents, we tend to want to do so much for our
Oh,
kids
I
sometimes
agree.
that
Yeah.
we're doing them a disservice. Like he needs to figure out at 20 years old how to get home,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah.
he did.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I mean, you have to prepare them for that because if you do everything for them in life, then
Hmm.
like you say, then how do they know how to do anything when they go to
Yeah.
college?
Yeah.
You have to learn all of this at a younger age. So I
Yeah.
think that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard, I
No.
know, but
No, his mom, you do, and it's going to be hard to watch them go through the tough stuff. But if they don't, like my kids, the biggest thing for them right now, because I have like 20 to 26, I have
oh
four
well,
kids that
okay.
age, and then I have a 10 and a 12, right? And so,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, it's still in elementary
Oh
school.
my gosh.
So, but to watch that, it's like, okay, you are at that age, you need to figure it out. And they expect us to pay for their college, for cars, for their insurance, for their phone. And I would never have even thought of that at that. I left home at 17, but nowadays, like the kids are like, well, mom and dad, like my friends' parents are paying for all that stuff for them. I'm like, I'm sorry that they're doing that because they're not preparing them. So I know
Right.
that right now they're not very grateful, but I think in 5 to 10 years, they're going to be like, okay, thanks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. For sure. I mean, but think about it when you're a kid, like
Mhm.
we went through the same thing of people, our parents, at least for me when I was growing up, it was the same thing. Like,
Mhm.
you want a car, then get a job
Yeah.
and pay for your own gas,
Hmm.
and you're gonna get my hand-me-down car,
Hmm.
and we're gonna pay for half of school, you're gonna pay for
Exactly.
the other half of
Yep.
school.
Hmm.
But yeah, like it's I think that the idea of wanting to do everything for our kids is so easy to do,
Hmm.
but
Especially in today's world,
it's wrong. It
Mhm.
is. I
Yeah.
agree completely with that. Yeah.
All right. So if our listeners wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that or learn more about your companies?
Sure. So Gecko Hospitality, their website is basically geckohospitality.com. So from a recruiter point of view, you can look at but that is like the overarching franchise company. Otherwise, Megan at geckohospitality.com, and then Career Blueprint Solutions. Our website is the same. It's just careerblueprintsolutions.com, or Megan at Career Blueprint Solutions if you're interested in even just sharing your resume with me to be like, hey, can you give me some advice? Maybe not, I'm happy to do, at least if nothing else, point out what you're missing or need to change. So, anything I can do to help anyone out there that needs the confidence, because I think there's so much information. It's like the generation that our children are in is indeed inundated with
Yeah.
so much information. It's hard and overwhelming to know who to believe, what to do, what to look at, where should I do this, where I think with that side, with career and growing and getting better, it's if you can find some clarity and some confidence to where you can really be confident in what you're doing and moving forward, and when you're applying, and feel like you're not, making the wrong decisions or what have you, is huge these days. So
No, I
yeah,
agree. And especially when it's so much harder to get a job than it used to be. Because
it
you used to have
is.
to walk in and give the resume and they'd hire you on the spot or something. Now it's go to our website, apply there, and then you never hear
Yeah,
from
and
them,
fill
right?
out
So,
all of these different
yeah.
forms that all
Mhm.
say the same information, and ghosting is a huge thing in the industry now. And this is like, I almost think it is the same kind of pandemic. Like, it's crazy. And when it first started happening, I was like, why does everyone think it's okay to do this?
Yeah.
But it's still happening.
Yeah.
People left and right. It happens to me all the time from candidates, even from some of our clients that just like
Wow.
disappear. And you're just like, can't you at least just respond with, hey, things have changed. I'm so sorry. We won't need you anymore. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's crazy. But anyway, yeah, it's changed a lot. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, Megan, thank you so much for being on.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And moms and unbreakable moms and entrepreneurs, it's all about making sure that communication is a big thing, but getting noticed and knowing how to stand out from the crowd. And also communication, like I said, is to the candidates that might have been applying for you because you never know when you're going to need somebody else again. So making sure that you leave a good mark at all times. So
Yeah.
go out and make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.